Hello. Hello, folks. Dzień dobry Państwu. My name is Eugen. I'm from Minsk, Belarus. I work for a Dutch company called Colors, and I haven't been thinking about making any kind of presentation here, but since some topics here were pretty general, I decided that that's a good opportunity to share some thoughts with the community. So it will be in two parts. The first one is about semantic markup, and it's actually a cry from the heart because I can explain what is going on. So I have like 10 years of experience making websites, and I think some of you could remember something like that. You know, all these tables, and my first website was made with tables, etc. So it's pretty awful. Yeah. So lots of inline styles, everything have been handmade. And but there was already at beginning of the century there were recommendations by World Wide Web Consortium, and one of them was a separation of content and the presentation, which is pretty important to. It's more like in MVC concept, like model and view. So for HTML, XML, and all the languages you can see here, this about content and presentation. In terms of front end, HTML is for content, CSS is for presentation, and the recommendation was not to mix them. And then browsers start to change, they get adopted to standards, and that was fine. But then we got this. We got lots of frameworks, we got compilers, we got ground borers, scaffolding, and a lot of very, very nice technological stuff. And then we got some profit, probably. But there are some things which are which sometimes, at least for me, seems forgotten. How effective is technology we use? Because sometimes it looks like the technology is used just in the sake of technology, which is not right, I believe. For instance, here is the example of pretty modern code. Yeah, there is no inline styles. It was generated with some using some framework, etc. But like that's a profit. No inline styles. Everyone's happy. But take a closer look. Yeah, this grid is about width. All this visual, a lot of stuff. Yeah, the container white means the white background, I believe. Isn't this actually an inline style of 2015? Yeah, and what can be done with that? Here is an example. If you use a lot of classes to, I don't know, to add border, to add margin, to add color, to add width to a block. Or instead, you can use some semantic names for your content, and which is nice with all these compilers that you can do that since while being semantic, while using semantic names, you could just extend. Use your framework, use your favorite framework, and extend these semantic names with all these presentational stuff like width, colors, etc. So important thing is why this semantic markup is important today. Several things. First of all, it's you can do support a bug fixing without bothering backend developers, because usually we have some kind of HTML storage and we have templates of CMS, and to add something or to change some block, you need to to add or remove particular class, particular inline style. And you need to go to backend developer, find the template, or find it by yourself, and to make this synchronized, your local storage of your storage of HTML, plain HTML, and the templates. You need to do the change in both situations. But if you'll be semantic, you can just use your CSS. And if your CSS is linked both to static HTML and the templates, you will have just one place to change a block. another reason is you will have reusable, very reusable and readable, human readable code. I have a colleague who worked for 7 years with development, and he was like, oh, this is the best code I've ever seen because he can understand what is going on in this code. And since you have something like this, you can reuse these articles for any purpose. For just an example, yeah, but you can manage the style of all elements inside by managing the style for container of some type. So I beg you, please don't forget about effectiveness, about being semantic and being logical. The second part of my speech, which is, I have 30 seconds left. Well, it's a partner lab tool, which have been mentioned already today. So I highly recommend to play with it. It's that atomic system, and it's better to see once. What you have a code split it into parts, and you can reuse snippets like that. And for instance, you got a template called homepage. Over here, I have a tool to see the code. And if you go, this is how it actually looks like. It uses some blocks, some snippets which are determined in other templates. And how do we use this in our company for maybe half a year? It is not just for making a style guide. It is highly integrated into our repository. And while making some user story, we just give a link to a particular snippet. And backend developers could use that code from this view. So my recommendation, I highly suggest to use this, to try this tool out. And it isn't mine, it is an open source, and please contribute it and find it. So it's pretty well described and documented. So this is basically it. So thank you very much.